Hello, hello. Welcome to the We Ship It podcast, everybody.
We are so excited. Today we are going to be talking about The Princess Brides, Westley and Buttercup.
This is a classic tale. Stay tuned to the end to see if we ship it or not. Well, hello there. I'm Steph.
And I'm Devin.
And welcome to the 9th episode of We Ship It, Westley and Buttercup from The Princess Bride.
As always, don't forget that this show will contain some spoilers. So if you haven't seen The Princess Bride yet, what are you doing? Get to it and come back and give us a listen, please.
Yes, this is a beloved classic. I couldn't wait to get to this tale. It was one of the ones that when I thought of We Ship It, I was like, we need to do this. This is going to be a classic one. So The Princess Bride is a satirical tale by William Goldman. And then it was adapted into a movie. And I have to confess, I have not read the whole book. So this episode is going to be based solely off the movie. However, I know that Goldman, he helped write the movie. So I'm sure that it will have many similarities. And if you disagree with that, please feel free to let us know. And we'll redo an episode solely on the book because I'm all about that too. But the movie I think is iconic enough and people reference it more often than I think they reference the book. So I think that if you have any thoughts on Princess Bride, it's probably for watching the movie. That's what we're going to be focusing on, just to let you guys know.
So for a brief summary, The Princess Bride is a tale of Westley, a farm boy, and Buttercup. They fall in love, but then Westley leaves to obtain a fortune to come back and marry Buttercup. And he gets abducted by the dread pirate Roberts. Buttercup assumes he is dead and tries to move on. She says that she's going to live a life and never love again. She is chosen to marry Prince Humperdinck, and the story unfolds. As Westley comes back, a masked man, the dread pirate Roberts, Buttercup at first does not know it is him. And when she realizes it, the two go through all manner of struggles to find their way back together. They face the fire swamp, Humperdinck, torture, and so much more. This tale is more than that, though. There are incredible characters such as Inigo Montoya and Vezek, and the satire is incredible. In the end, the two end up together, riding off into the sunset. La-di-da.
Swoon. And that last kiss of theirs just gets me every time. So with that, let's begin. Let's dive into our questions. So Devin, what makes true love true? And how do Westley and Buttercup exemplify it? Or maybe they don't. What do you think?
So the quote-unquote true love that so many yearn for is a love that is pure and so beautiful and strong that people fear, admire, and quite possibly even envy it. For me, it's happiness that extends through love. And in my eyes, Westley and Buttercup embody the envisionment of true love, but their love is not true. I don't know. That's how I feel. Like so many of their lines are iconic. The "as you wish" or "I will always come for you." They're just beautiful lines, and I love them. They're cute, they're whimsical, and I appreciate them. But they are also filled with this fairy tale-esque language. Like the relationship is one big hyperbole of sorts. And at moments it feels a little too extra for me. But I still come back to it. Like I still fall in love with it anyway. So
I can't help it.
I enjoy it. I notice it. I notice that it's this big satire of a relationship, but I still appreciate it for what it is.
Me too. You know, this is a tough question to start with because it's huge. It's a huge question. It kind of embodies what we're going to be talking about for the rest of this episode. True love is the purest form of love, as I understand it. It comes from understanding the other person inside and out and having the strongest bond possible because of it. Now, that's not how it's always portrayed in fairy tales. And that's what we're mainly going to be talking about today. is true love sometimes is seen as something that just happens to a person versus putting in the work of understanding who that person is.
Yes.
And respecting and loving another person wholly and totally for who they are. Now, I still love Wesley and Buttercup. So I'm not going to say that I have no strong affection for them. I definitely do, and there are reasons too. But we should also be careful about considering that this tale is only about them, because it's not. Even though it's called The Princess Bride, there are so many fairy tale aspects to it that are even more worth diving into than just the relationship. But for purposes of this podcast, as far as they go, Wesley and Buttercup, I'm not sure they have true love. Sometimes the beginning goes a bit fast for me. You know, I root for them so much.
The beginning is terribly fast. Like, you can't get a sense of who they are as people or even like their relationship.
Exactly. And I root for them so much. I really do, because they're just so cute. But this movie, we have to keep in mind, is a satire. And I'm not sure we're really supposed to believe in true love as something that's real or more than a fairy tale dream. But the two of them, at the very least, embody this fairy tale version of true love.
No, I agree. All right. Next question. Wesley makes the comment, "Life is pain, Your Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something." What are your thoughts here?
So, okay, first of all, it's "Life is pain, Highness," not "Your Highness."
Oh.
It's okay. It doesn't really make a difference. I'm just trying to show how horribly nerdy I am that I would recognize that one word is off. But the main thing I have to say about this is I love these one-liners. Every single one is just flippin' burned in my brain from this story. It's amazing. I think this particular one is so right. It's supposed to be funny, but there's truth to it, so much truth. And I think that's a lot of what's funny about this is you're set in this fairy tale land. You expect them to come out and be talking in eloquent, old-fashioned, unrealistic terms, but they're so blunt and they're so fourth wall breaking. And he just says, "Life is pain, Highness." Like, usually princesses are treated with, all the respect and we don't want to say anything too harsh. But in this one, Wesley just gives it to her, and I love it.
He does.
But to get to the actual point of what he says here, we kind of live in a world that makes it impossible for people not to feel pain to some degree. Everyone feels some element of pain. That's why I love Wesley's understanding of that.
True.
He just goes along living, no matter what pain he deals with, he just goes on and he lives his life. And I think that's a great characteristic of Wesley himself, is that he has this tireless endurance even in a world full of pain. And we see his world so full of pain even when he comes back. Yeah. And he pushes on. And I love that. That's what's beautiful about
He's definitely
Wesley.
The carrier of this relationship for sure.
Yeah, he definitely
But I think
is.
in this moment, Wesley's just being a realist. We're audience members of a fairy tale of sorts, and this is a moment where the writers try to break that wall a bit to get us to think. I would compare Buttercup's mind to a teenage girl where their main focus is who they're dating or who they have a crush on or who has a crush on them. Here, Wesley tries to shake her up a bit and explain that, yes, in fact, life is full of pain. But how to deal with the pain is what matters.
Yep. And that's what Wesley's character shows the entire time.
Yeah, he endures. And he's like, if you wallow in it and declare that you will never love again, cough, cough, then you're letting that pain corrupt you. That is what I see him getting at here. He's like, I left you and you spent the last 5 years doing nothing.
Wallowing. Get over it. I lived on freaking a pirate's ship thinking I was going to die for the longest
Every
time.
day.
And I came back to you. There's something to be said for the fact that Buttercup didn't know he was alive or not. But at the same time, I think she learns after he comes back, though, not to live in that sort of world of inaction as she did before, which is what's great about having Wesley and Buttercup together, because they make each other stronger to some regard. So, question 3. What are the characteristics that draw these two together?
For Buttercup, Wesley at the start is just totally devoted to her. He does everything she asks and more. And I think it's this devotion that finally hits Buttercup in the face, and she learns to appreciate him and what he does for her. She even starts to ask for like menial tasks to be done just to have him around.
Yes.
And I think for Wesley, Buttercup is spunky and persistent. She teases him, and this teasing entices him and attracts him. She's the classic princess that needs to be rescued, and while this excites him, I guess it doesn't really do anything for me. In my eyes, Buttercup is a weak character or just one-sided, but I still like her.
Right.
There's a scene where Buttercup is having a nightmare, and she walks out to the mass of the kingdom, and one woman just goes, "Boo!" And she says, because you had love in your hands and you gave it up. But they would have killed Wesley if I hadn't done it. Your true love lives and you marry another. True love saved her in the fire swamp and she treated it like garbage. Like she just...
It's
she
true.
just throws it in her face.
This woman knows more than like half the people in this world. This one old woman.
They make it out of the swamp, and instead of having a fighting chance, like trying to do something, Buttercup throws her white flag and is like, you can have him and me. You win.
Right.
She kills me.
These two, no, they kill me. But so I don't really know like what it is that
we don't
brings
get to
these
see
two
it.
together. We don't really get to see that part of it. It's more the tale of them trying to regain each other. Yeah. And so true love is said what's to keep them together, right? They're always like, true love, that's what, that's why I return to you, like all these things. For me, it's sort of similar to what you said. Wesley is a strong, loyal person. That is what Buttercup loves about him. He is dedicated. I think Buttercup's a pretty girl. But to be honest, to be fair, she has a very true and bold personality once a fire is lit under her butt. Then she sticks to her truth. But she needs to go through some things first, so I think she's immature in the beginning. But the two are said to have a very strong bond from the beginning. And I'm not sure if that's a true love cop-out that we're just told, they love each other because true love. Because of the satire of all this. Maybe there's a comment somewhere on what true love really is. But my problem is they don't really have a very long time in the movie that we see them getting to know each other.
I know.
So I wish we did, because I feel like there is something strong and true about their relationship, but I just don't see it as much as I see the adventure and all the other things.
We're told that it's true love, but we don't get to see the application of it.
And we're kind of just told this is true love rather than here's why this is true love. And I think maybe that's a comment on fairy tales in general. But that's going to be this whole episode pretty much. So
all right, moving on. What are some of your favorite moments of these two?
Definitely the kiss at the end. I hate to be cliche. And Devin, I thought you were looking away because you were like, I said that too or something.
No, sorry.
But the kiss at the end, I love that little scene, just how it's described, especially in the movie when the grandpa's like, oh, okay, you don't want to hear about them kissing. And then he says,
the boy's like, no, I do. I
yes,
really do.
Yes. And he's like, oh, this is one of the top 5 kisses of all time or whatever. It's just very cute. I'm very much a mush when it comes to stuff like that. I know a lot of people hate it and cringe, but it just makes my brain like swell. I'm very happy. Swell in a good way. I don't know why I chose to put it that way, but there you go. Number 2, I also love when they storm the castle. So when Fezzik and Inigo and Wesley, they go in together to save Buttercup. They are such a fun trio.
They really are.
That is one of those moments where I'm just like, I love this. I love that they're all teaming up in this way and they're making little jokes and they're going in to save Buttercup and ultimately to get revenge for Inigo as well. But I love them. And then I'm never a huge fan of this is my third one. I'm never a huge fan of how Buttercup handles things, but I do like the moment in her dream that we were talking about before with the old woman, basically calling her out for not appreciating true love. I think that's hilarious. And I also think it's an important commentary on how true love is treated by the characters that have it in fairy tales. So those are my moments. What about you, Dev?
So I have 2. Nice. And it's not necessarily... So, okay. well, I'll talk about it. So, honestly, my favorite moments are when they are entering the fire swamp.
Yes.
And Wesley is like, it's not that bad. And Buttercup gives him this like deadpan glare,
Yes.
like, are you kidding me? And he makes several more comments, and she just continues to give this same stare. And it's just, I just find it hilarious. Like, I can't get over it.
The two of them. Oh my god.
And a side favorite scene that doesn't necessarily have to do with them is when Wesley is fighting hand-to-hand combat with Fezzik. And Fezzik asks, why are you wearing a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that? And he's like, oh no, it's just like they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future. I'm like, oh god, it's
what
too
a
real.
freaking future teller right here.
It's too real.
I can't get over it. I cannot. And so many things about this movie, even if we're not talking COVID, so many things about this movie are so like future oriented and fourth wall breaking, and it just gives me so much happiness to see that. Honestly.
I just found that when I was rewatching, I was just like, oh my gosh, they knew.
I know. Oh my god, I love
Anyways.
it. But moving on. So, question 5: if Wesley never returned for her, what would the future of Buttercup have looked like?
Honestly, Buttercup would have been miserable. I mean, she really did nothing to help herself out the entire movie. So I don't envision her doing anything to help herself if Wesley never happened to return. Like if he found another girl out on the seas and move on. She would have married the prince, but she wouldn't have been happy. And now that I brought up the prince, can we just talk about how annoying he is? He's like the Lord Farquaad, but on steroids.
He is. And like when he talks about like, I wanted to marry her to kill her, so people would think that someone else.
I don't understand why you would want to start a war in the first place. Like this is the country that you are inheriting.
I think it's another like commentary, which we're gonna keep saying, but basically on how in fairy tales like these ridiculous plots are hatched to do something completely ridiculous by the villain, and like they're just not very realistic, but it's truly funny because he's a funny villain. Like he's enjoyable even though he's a jerk. Like I just think he's really funny.
And I just find it funny when Wesley like really gives it to him. He says, I'll explain. I'll use small words so that you'll be sure to understand, you warhog face buffoon. Like, and
I thought that was added for the movie, like those insults that he talks about. But I looked at that scene in the book specifically because I was like, let me just see if there's that sass in the book. It was there. He called him the same insults, the buffoon or whatever he was calling him. I thought that was hilarious. I was like,
but yeah, back to Buttercup. She would have been miserable. Yes. Like end of story. Like it's just the way it is. It
is, but it's okay. We love her. I agree. You know, I think she would have married Humperdinck and died unhappy. Basically, he would have killed her. He was plotting to kill her, so she wouldn't have lived much longer anyway. I don't think she would have tried to kill herself because I think that only was her way of dealing with it once she realized Wesley was alive and coming for her. When she was like desperate. I don't think she would have killed herself or tried to like the first time around if Wesley never came back. I don't think she was a strong character before he came back for her. I think she learned a lot from when he came back. She learned a lot from that dream about the old woman. But I think before he came back, she didn't have faith in him. So I think she would have lived on. I think she would have lived a foggy life, missing him, but not doing anything about it. Right. So that's ultimately where I think that she would land.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no hope for her. She's lost.
She's lost.
All right, next. Is it wrong to have the unfailing faith that Buttercup has for Wesley and that he will rescue her?
I don't think it is. I think that that's what she should have had from the very beginning. I think, it's a little unrealistic to live that way, but I think you should believe in something. And if true love is your belief and you fail to give it the true props it deserves in your life, if you fail to adhere to your beliefs, then maybe you don't really believe in true love. I love the faith that she acquires in Wesley once he comes back. It's not there when she thinks he's dead, but it grows when she finds out that he is back. And I think it's adorable. Could it be blind faith? People might say like blind faith isn't the healthiest thing. I don't think that that's what it is. I think more from her case once he comes back and she's believing in him. I think because he's proved himself before, she's really just believing in the person that she failed to believe in at first, which is a nice change. What do you think?
So I'm someone who firmly believes in having faith. Like, faith is essential to living. But in some regards, there comes a time where having too much faith in a human, nonetheless, is not healthy.
Yes, you're right.
And not just that, but it leaves you waiting, or it makes you weaker because you're not doing anything for yourself, but waiting for the other person to make the move.
Right.
So I see, like, I am full support of faith. I am full support of having that everlasting faith in someone. But for her specifically, I just see her become even weaker and non-existent. She doesn't do anything with her life in that 5-year time span. So it's not healthy for her. But
I agree.
Regardless,
I tend to agree at least with that. But I think that she should have had faith in something. If she's going to say she has faith in true love, then damn it, have faith in true love. But moving on. Number 7, what's with Buttercup's Juliet moment? Is it worth it in the end?
So the moment we are referring to is her really random suicide moment.
Yep.
Like, girl, what are you doing? Is this really what you want to do?
It's dramatic.
Where are your parents?
Yes, where are you? Does your mother know that you're out? Sort of question.
But I saw so clearly how this was a jab at Romeo and Juliet and satirizing the whole "my love is dead, so I must also die" situation.
But she didn't think he was dead. She knew he was alive. She thought he was coming for her, but then he didn't come. That's my problem.
Didn't he say that he killed him?
Did he?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm forgetting in this moment too, but I think that might be my problem with it, is that you're not certain that he's not out there. Just like last time.
It just doesn't make sense because she's lived 5 years without him, all the while thinking he was dead. And now she's told once again that he's dead, or that he's not coming for her.
Yes.
And now she feels like that she has this need to kill herself. Like, girl, what?
Like, it's a cop-out. It's like your main reason for trying to do this is that you don't want to marry Humperdinck. It's not that you're sad about Wesley.
Right.
It's that you don't want to marry this guy who's going to kill you in 2 days anyway. Not that you know that. But nonetheless, it's not even a Juliet moment, because it's not like you're staring at your dead love. It's like you're uncertain the same way you were before. You just don't want to marry this guy, and
weak woman.
It's a weak character moment for her. But thank God, although we have to also admit to the same thing that we've been admitting this whole time. This movie is a satire.
Right.
And it's trying to make fun of those dire straight moments. And we're going to say it again. It's making fun of those dire straight moments where it's like, oh, I cannot have my love, so I am going to stab myself. It's the bread and butter of old-time fairy tales. It's true. Like the tragedy versus the wedding. Remember, we learned about that in class.
Yep.
It either ends in tragedy or it ends in a wedding.
Yep. Count the deaths or count the marriages.
Yep. So either way, moving on.
Yeah, so next question. What are the aspects of a typical fairy tale that play out throughout this movie? And how do they play a role in the main relationship?
I love okay, I wrote this question, but I love this question. I could go on and on, seriously. But some of the main things that are in it are true love, obviously, revenge, which Inigo's whole story is my favorite. Random magic, that little couple, we can't forget to bring them up as well when
They're
they make
hilarious.
the little chocolate life bean or whatever. They're like
For
one of my favorite
brief scene that they are
characters.
together, they crack me up.
They make the whole damn movie. I love them both. But I love all of these aspects to it, because while it's a satire, I think it's poking fun, but it also appreciates these things in different ways. So it gives those tropes, those old tropes that we know and love, a shout out. It gives them.
They highlight them.
Yeah, they highlight them. They give them an appreciation, and while we're laughing at them, we can still appreciate what they mean.
Absolutely.
Which I think does justice to these different kinds of stereotypes. But what it does to their relationship, it makes it a little bit less focused on the relationship. It makes it a little more fourth wall-y. It makes it a little bit more of a critical tale than just a story about two lovers, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, it makes it just less real.
Yeah, it makes it less real, which is sad overall. But I still think there are I still think there are aspects of their relationship that are valuable for us to learn from, even if their relationship as a whole is more of a satire.
No, yeah. I mean, this story really has it all. Like we said, pirates, princesses, magic
Yes.
candy, sword fights, a battle of wits, giants, a fire swamp with the danger and large creatures in it. Like it's just a wild ride. And they even cover the kidnapping and damsel in distress, in need of a savior kind of deal. So it really covers it all. But like you said, these are highlighted there, really done well for that,
Yep.
so that the audience can appreciate it more. And like you said, with the relationship, in regards to the relationship, I think, like I said, it just makes it less real, as a human, not just a character, but as a human. Like it doesn't feel real to me, but it's okay.
But
I
they
still
still
love the
are
movie.
cute.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie. But moving on to our next question. This is a side question. This isn't really relationship focused, but I think it's important that we talk about it because the characters are so incredibly important to this
They
story.
do a very good job of creating characters. So
They really do. So basically, who is your favorite character and why? You're gonna steal my
mine
answer.
by
I freaking know
far,
it.
I know. Mine by far is Inigo.
You stole it.
He's just such a lovable and fun character. And how can you not love his story of avenging his father? And his iconic, hello, my name is
stole it.
Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Like, it's just...
The man. The man.
He's a skilled fighter and also knows how to crack a joke. He's essential to the plot of the story. And some would even argue that he is a major protagonist as the plot moves forward through him and his desire to storm the castle to get at the count. So he's huge, and I just appreciate him so much.
Me too. I just love him. I picked him too because his dedication is incredible. I also love how honest he is about his own strengths and weaknesses. That dude knows himself. He knows his purpose and he is not afraid to carry it out. And that's what brings such beauty to this tale is the true and bold characters that just they express themselves and they express their purpose perfectly. And Inigo is one of those characters. So thank you for stealing that from me, Devin.
You got it. Anytime. Next, why does our society love their story so much? What are the characteristics of the story and their relationship that make us love them?
Ultimately, I think people love the story because of its humor more than anything, but there's also something to the typical princess / protective, loyal dude that's always there for her that just makes us fawn over these types of stories. We love them because of, their unwavering love for one another. We don't often see that kind of love in our world anymore. Whether or not it's relationship love, like romantic relationship or other relationship, we don't see that type of loyalty a lot. There's so much disloyalty, imperfection, and deceit in our world that we crave this kind of devotion, whether or not it comes from a romantic relationship or not, which is why I think even though this is a funny tale, we also sort of crave the generic fairy tale relationship as well because it is one of the most impenetrable forces, and that's what true love ultimately is, this impenetrable type of love that we see in the fairy tale movies,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we love the story because it has it all, like we said earlier. It's an action, adventure, fairy tale, comedy, romantic film. But I think we love Westley and Buttercup's story specifically because it's meant to be what everyone is supposed to be looking for. It's a true love of sorts. But in my eyes, I think it's hyperbolized and exploited through its fairy tale nature. We love their enduring love over the 5 years of Wesley's absence. We love the witty cliche lines. We love the I will take care of you and I will always rescue you nature of the relationship. But again, it's all fairy tale. It's not real. But it's not real. It's what we love to watch and envision for ourselves. Like it's something that we can not always hope for, but just like admire and appreciate.
I agree. So with that, I'm going to move on to our favorite question of every episode.
Last question.
Do we ship it?
See, I like the idea of them being together, but I don't know if I'm sold on their love. You kind of have to talk me into it. I appreciate them. I love the movie. I love the story. I'm just not sold on their relationship needing one another in a sense.
No, I kind of figured you'd answer that way, Devin.
Like, I don't know
I
how
tend to
I feel
agree.
about it.
I tend to agree, and I'm waiting for an episode where we just vehemently disagree with each other. But I tend
I
to
thought this
agree.
one would be it.
I think I do. I ship it. I'm going to say that with an asterisk. Wesley is my main reason to love these two.
True.
Buttercup is okay, but she's not a very strong character.
Wesley
I think.
makes the relationship.
I think so, yeah. Overall, it's satire, so I can't be in love with them and call it a day. But I'm in love with the tale, and there are things that I would change about the relationship. While that's true, I do ship it overall, I think. Because their relationship isn't bad. It's not unhealthy. Like we've seen in a lot of different relationships, even some that have been so unhealthy, but we still ship it. Our last episode.
Right, Jane Eyre.
No, but yeah, Jane Eyre. But no, I think overall, I just wish I saw more of them, and then I could give a more affirmative yes.
Yeah.
But either way,
I agree. If we had more of a why they are in love kind of story, it would have
It'd be
made more
easier.
sense. But no, I agree.
but cool. So we're agreeing. I'm waiting for that episode that we're going to be.
I thought
yelling
it would
at
be
each
this
other.
one. I really did. I thought you were going to be sold on them, and I was going to have to be
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Well, Devin, maybe I'm just smarter than you.
There will
No, I'm
be
just
one.
kidding.
There will be
There will be
though.
one. I'm waiting for it. I'm sure that it will
And
happen.
I'm scared for that day.
I'm ready for that day. Bring it on. Bring it on. But now it's time for some comments. We actually have a few that were written in, and we have one that was sent in with a voice message. So that's really exciting. But our first comment is written in from Mary. Thank you for reaching out, Mary. I'm so excited to hear
Yes,
from
thank
you.
you.
So she said, I love The Princess Bride. I think Buttercup and Wesley have a lot of on-screen chemistry from the start. However, the beginning of the movie moves so quickly that I find it hard to believe Buttercup and Wesley had time to really build a relationship. We agree. At the beginning, Buttercup is a demanding employer who, she deals with a farm boy and yells at him and stuff. We don't see any signs of friendship or even friendly conversation between the two until much later in the story. That's very true. If we had seen more of their relationship grow and develop over time on the farm, then it would be easier for me to believe their love was true and sympathize with Buttercup when she receives word that Wesley is dead. Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Mary, thank you so much for reaching out.
It's really awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. We also had someone leave a voice comment. So this comment is amazing. Thank you, Tamara, for sending it in.
Yes, we're very excited. So thank you, Tamara. We're going to play that now.
I think maybe I was 6 when I sat on the floor of my aunt's living room to watch The Princess Bride for the first time, and I fell in love with it. I have watched it annually for nearly 2 decades since. For why, you might ask? Well, primarily these qualities: heart, wit, and whimsy. It doesn't take itself seriously. All that being said, I don't think Wesley and Buttercup make a good couple. Gasp. Okay. Hear me out, all right? I'd like you to take a moment to challenge your perspectives and then maybe watch the movie again and or read the book. It always seemed clear to me that The Princess Bride is a satirical commentary on the fantasy and adventure genre. Fire swamps, shrieking eels, cliffs of insanity, RUSs, miracle men, senile kings, and more, making lighthearted fun of typical fantasy elements that seem absolutely ridiculous out of context. I mean, talk about suspension of disbelief. It is a movie about characters and not people. And dare I say, it may even be about caricatures of stereotypical adventure archetypes. And if you think differently, that's fine. So why don't I think Wesley and Buttercup are a good match? Their relationship is unhealthy, unbalanced, and at times toxic, but that's on purpose. Buttercup is the damsel in distress, and Wesley the dashing, daring, and somewhat cocky hero, and to me, it's commentary on how these kinds of relationships were oft depicted as ideal when they are in fact flawed. A couple early instances in the movie of their dysfunction are when Westley rescues Buttercup from Vizzini, but doesn't immediately reveal to her it's him. Instead, Westley belittles Buttercup and cruelly tests her devotion, all because he's mad she's engaged, even though she had thought him dead for 5 years. When they emerge from the swamp and encounter Prince Humperdinck, Buttercup puts zero faith in Wesley's ability to get them out of the situation and hands herself and Wesley over to the prince. Babe! He suffered the tutelage of the dread Pirate Roberts and became captain, climbed a cliffside, defeated a master swordsman and a strong giant, bested the Sicilian because he endured the pain of developing an immunity to poisons and managed to get both of you safely through the fire swamp. Babe, you just reunited with your one true love, who has already shown you he is capable both physically and intellectually. And, babe, 10 minutes ago, you said you'd never doubt again. I have a myriad of examples, but point is, often they aren't kind or supportive of each other. Of course, this is in order to serve their roles and drive the plot, but nonetheless, it means their love isn't unconditional or perfect, despite the many declarations in the movie and the book saying that it is. And that's okay. In fact, I think it's the point. Throughout the movie and the book, there is a healthy relationship that juxtaposes Westley and Buttercup's. Although platonic, Fezzik the Giant and Inigo Montoya's friendship is honest and compassionate. Inigo builds Fezzik up whenever Vizzini tears him down. Fezzik helps Inigo sober up when he is self-pitying and relapses. They treat each other as equals. Down is our direction, Fezzik, but I can tell you're a bit edgy about all this. So out of the goodness of my heart, I will let you walk down, not behind me and not in front of me, but right next to me on the same step, stride for stride. And you put an arm around my shoulder, because that will probably make you feel better. And I, so as to not make you feel foolish, will put an arm around your shoulder, and thus, safe, protected, together, we will descend, says Inigo, as they are about to enter the Zoo of Death. If there is any love that's true and pure and ideal, it's theirs. But hey, that's just my opinion.
Okay. Wow, that was beautiful. I tend to agree that this story is much more than Westley and Buttercup, and I love the comparison to the true love of Fezzik and Inigo that you talked about, Tamara. I think that the relationships between other characters are also a huge part of what makes this story so beloved. So thank you, Tamara.
And now, the time you have all been waiting for, the announcement of episode 10.
Yay, number 10.
Our
I'm so
decade
excited.
one.
I can't believe we got to a decade. No. So we'll be diving into Hamilton and Eliza from Hamilton. So people have a lot to say about this couple. Mm-hmm. Trust me. I mean, people waited for years to get in to see the play, and now it's on Disney Plus. So we're going to be watching that and doing a deep dive into them. And then not only that, but their real relationship in real life and doing some comparisons. So it's going to be exciting.
It'll be fun.
Reach out if you have any thoughts so we can include your comments.
That'd be wonderful. Can't wait. And thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a rating or a follow.
Yes, we would be so grateful. And if you'd like to join as a guest reader or send in your comments, please feel free to email us at weshipitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you all so much. See you all next time.
As you wish, Devin. And we hope that you wish to come back for episode 10. So see you then.